right, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into something massive. It's a monumental shift that's literally altering the very nature of warfare as we know it. And look, this isn't science fiction anymore. It's the actual reality of modern defense strategies, and it is happening way faster than most of us probably realize. So think about this for a second. What happens when the human cost of war drops all the way down to zero? It's a pretty provocative thought, right? I mean, naturally, we tend to think that removing human soldiers from the line of fire is just an entirely good thing. It saves lives on our side, but as the source material for today reveals, this actually creates a really dangerous paradox. Because by removing human soldiers from the equation, we drastically lower the political threshold required to start a conflict in the first place. Okay, so just so we're all on the exact same page, let's talk about what's driving this. It's all about AWS, or Autonomous Weapons Systems. These are unmanned systems that are specifically designed to substitute human soldiers. So we're moving way beyond those traditional remote-controlled drones into this new realm where the machines themselves can autonomously identify, track, and engage targets without a human pulling the trigger. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the rise of AWS, the boom in loitering munitions, the geopolitical risks, this wild concept called the meta-war, and finally, how we might prevent global instability. Let's just jump right into part one, the rise of AWS. There's this really striking analogy in the research we're looking at today. They say that basically, like a boiling frog, we are totally sleepwalking into an AI arms race. And it makes sense because these advancements aren't happening overnight. It's a software update over here, a slightly more advanced drone model over there. So the public, and honestly even policymakers, are largely unaware of the massive threshold we're crossing right now. Major powers are heavily integrating machine learning into their defense capabilities, with the end goal of drastically reducing the number of human boots on the ground. Which brings us to part two, the loitering munitions boom. $815.3 million. According to a Markets and Markets report we're analyzing, that is the projected global market value for loitering munitions by 2029, and it is growing at a massive annual rate of roughly 9%. You've probably heard these referred to as kamikaze or suicide drones. They are absolutely the tip of the spear when it comes to autonomous weapons. Basically, they're designed to circle an area, hunt for a specific target, and then just crash into it with a lethal payload. And honestly, the versatility of these things is just nuts. You've got canister-launched drones that are totally sealed up and ready for rapid deployment across land, air, or sea. You've got low-cost catapult variants for really fast responses. There are vertical takeoff models that give you great agility combined with extended endurance. And then there are even these compact AI-enhanced hand-launch versions that literally just fit right into an infantry soldier's backpack. But hey, the hardware is really only half the story here. Let's look at part three. Geopolitical risks and AI. Now, here is the absolute core dilemma. Look at traditional warfare versus AWS warfare. Historically, sending troops into battle comes with a very high human cost, right? Which creates a massive domestic political barrier for any leader who even thinks about starting a war. But with AWS warfare, that human cost for the aggressor drops significantly. And when the human cost drops, the political barrier just drops right along with it. Suddenly, initiating conflicts becomes a whole lot more palatable domestically for major global powers. And this sets off a really terrifying logical chain reaction. Let's trace it out. If a major power relies heavily on these AI weapons, they suffer way fewer casualties. Because of that, their threshold to start a low-intensity conflict drops. But what exactly happens to the outgunned defender on the other side, the folks who don't have a high-tech AI drone swarm? Well, according to the academic research, they're highly likely to turn to asymmetric warfare, terrorism, and attacks on civilians. They basically have to find a way to inflict a human cost on the aggressor because they just can't do it on a traditional battlefield. And the collateral damage spills right over into the civilian and academic worlds, too. Think about it. Machine learning code is inherently dual use. The exact same algorithm that helps a cute little delivery robot navigate your neighborhood can be used to help a kamikaze drone hunt targets. So this growing military reliance on AI seriously threatens to lock down civilian research. In fact, we're already seeing the beginnings of this, stuff like visa bans on civilian researchers and increasing pressure to censor or classify open-source AI projects. Okay, let's zoom way out now. Part 4. Enter the meta-war. To kind of wrap our heads around the abstract future of all this, we have to look at China's People's Liberation Army, or the PLA, and their three-phase modernization strategy. First, they aim to complete mechanization by around 2020. Then they moved into informatization, which is really all about networking and integrating intelligence data. And now they're pushing into what they call intelligentization. It's a bit of a sci-fi mouthful for sure, but it's where they leverage AI, quantum computing, and even the metaverse to try and reach the ultimate innovation high ground. And the culmination of all this is the meta war. And the source material breaks down these frankly sci-fi combat methods. First, there's the avatar concept, which is entirely virtual, like manipulating public opinion behind the scenes. Then you have the simulacrum, which is real-world combat, but with weaponized robots fighting in place of humans. And finally, incarnation. This is where they actually merge the two, with human operators seamlessly switching back and forth between controlling virtual avatars and real-world physical mechs. So how do you even win a war like that? Well, the PLA theorizes that you win by basically overwhelming the enemy with massive software complexity. But easily the most radical strategy they outline is the mirror war. The idea here is to run a massive virtual simulation of a conflict to subdue an opponent's will without ever resorting to real physical fighting. The logic is, if you lose in the virtual simulation, you've essentially already lost in the physical world. Now, I know that sounds like something straight out of a movie set decades from now, but the sources point out we are actually seeing the beta version of this right now. The conflict in Ukraine is cited as a real-world example. Take Ukraine's eVarg smartphone app, for instance. It allows ordinary civilians to report enemy movements, complete with geolocation and identification verification. It totally gamifies the network, merging the physical reality of the battlefield with the digital space of social networks. Suddenly, every civilian with a smartphone becomes an active node in the combat environment. All right, so with all this technology moving so incredibly fast, what do we actually do about it? Let's hit part 5, preventing global instability. To prevent things from totally spiraling, the academic sources we're looking at lay out some very specific policy recommendations. First off, to stop major powers from just starting wars because it's quote-unquote easy, the big recommendation is to require a significant human battlefield presence alongside AWS. We absolutely should not deploy completely human-independent robotic armies. Second, because taking humans off the ground can so easily hide war crimes, we desperately need detailed public reports and independent watchdogs embedded directly in AWS command centers. And finally, to protect civilian research from being entirely co-opted, universities and companies really have to step up their ethics oversight and draw some hard lines regarding military-funded AI. Because at the end of the day, it all really comes back to this one phrase that was actually coined back in 2014, meaningful human control. This just states that no matter how advanced the AI gets, humans absolutely must remain actively in the loop for lethal decision-making. We just cannot hand over the power of life and death entirely to an algorithm. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Where exactly should we draw the line between human and machine on the battlefield? You know, as AI keeps evolving rapidly from those loitering munitions to the crazy abstract realms of the meta war, this is a question that policymakers, developers, and honestly, all of us as citizens really have to answer. And we need to answer it before the technology just goes ahead and makes the decision for us. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and I will see you in the next explainer.